And welcome back, everybody, to some CCL action here. We're on week 2. We're on day 1 here on the Bravo stream. We got some action. We got some good maps, some good old Call of Duty to go ahead and bring to you today. Joining you on the mic is going to be myself, Mick. Over to my left is going to be Mr. Cessno. How are you doing, my man? I know you're new here. I want to get you piped up for this old mic time.
I am so excited, Mick. It is a great pleasure to be here in the CCL. None other than the best place for some great Call of Duty action, but also in the collegiate level. It's going to be an exciting time, and I'm very excited to be partnered here with you for my first CCL cast.
Yeah, I'm most definitely with you, man, whenever it comes around. I mean, obviously, you just had Seymour there. Go ahead and give a little bit of introduction. Give you somewhat of a rewind from last week of everything that happened. Some banger matchups there. Definitely want to go through the VODs and watch those if they're available. But, I mean, anytime, just speaking around matchups, speaking about some Call of Duty, speaking about the collegiate level, everything we go ahead and bring out today. We sat there, been all over the map. We sat there and touched on the Midwest a lot, and we're not going anywhere else. We're holding it down this week, coming right back to this area. Now going to be on the A pool. We're going to be duking it out. We're going to be slaying out in South Dakota, it's looking like, because today's matchup that we're going to be presenting is going to be all University of South Dakota versus South Dakota State. So, no matter what really goes down, we're going to be holding it out and seeing which two of these schools are going to be best when it comes around to these two matchups. So as we go ahead and get right into this head-to-head, we're going to see their stats already and how they've been laid out thus far.
Yeah. And so far, you look at it right now, you've got Concordia, Wisconsin, 1-1 against Redbird Call of Duty, who are 2-0, and a very dominant 2-0 at that. You look at their hardpoint win-loss ratio. Wisconsin's currently at a 2-3 map count, and then Redbird at a 4-1. Then we hop over to Search and Destroy. The win-loss right now, Wisconsin, unfortunately, at a 1-2, but then Redbird at a 3-0. We clearly know, Mick, who's really leading right now in terms of stats.
Oh, we most definitely do. And I mean, when it comes around to these sides, I mean, just Concordia generally, looking at that lineup, looking at their roster, looking at their record right now, everything about them, even though they're sitting at 1-1, I'm not really too concerned about them because as y'all just saw through that replay, Concordia coming out on top, beating Purdue last week, was a massive upset that nobody really saw coming. So that in itself speaks a lot of volume and can be discussed a little bit later. But as we already look at the ratios and we look at the kind of stats and all, we got to know the people who are behind these records so far. We got to know the likes of Concord, know who we're dealing with, and see the opposite side of the spectrum as well. But as we go right into old Concordia, see what they got to bring to the table, we're going to be seeing the old tried and true that shut down those Titans last week. It's going to be the likes of Siri, Caterator, You Done Got Me, and Cruzy. And as we know, obviously we mentioned it a little bit last week, but I mean, a lot of returning players here on this roster. I mean, a lot to talk about when it comes around to these players. I mean, Siri being an absolute menace last week on that assault rifle, and Caterator being his right-hand man, able to go ahead, follow through, get aggressive anywhere on the map, really make a presence where need be. But when it comes around to all these players, none of them can really be slacked on.
Yeah, there's really not a player on this roster that should be dismissed at all. You had Cruiser, You Done Got Me, and Siri coming in from that Cold War season to now. The chemistry's already there, and then now you've got the new young gunner, Caterator, who is going to be their SMG. So it's going to be an exciting one to see because we have some great maps also ahead of us that really the SMGs will be a big defining factor for them.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, speaking of all these players, just some great stats from them. And they did go ahead against the likes of Illini as well. So some really rough matchups for them on both sides last week. But we're going to go ahead and go to the Redbird squad, see what they got to present on the other side of the table. For them, the opposition, we're going to be looking at the likes of Saint, Leo, Boost, and iFlob. So some new faces here, some old faces here and there, just across the board. Obviously, we're going to see some returning players a little bit, but not too many this time around, quite honestly. I mean, when it comes around to Redbird, they don't have nearly as many players, not too much of consistency. Said and done. I mean, I think they're definitely knowing the COD scene. They've definitely seen a lot of CCL action come down, and especially with a 2-0 start, I'm sure they have a lot to bring to the table off the get-go.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that they could do, and when you look at just how well they've been doing, 2-0 so far, I mean, they've been doing pretty well for themselves, and I think personally we might see some I think it's going to be a bit of more back and forth maybe.
Yeah, it most definitely could be. It all comes down to whether or not how these teams want to duke it out, how they're really going to fare against each other. It also comes down to the maps and how they're really going to go ahead, duke it out there, find themselves to settle down and how well they're going to fare on each side of the field. So, I mean, as we do go ahead and have to discuss those maps, we're probably going to go ahead and bring them up as well for everybody to go ahead and see. I mean, just a lot of variety, depending on really where you stand on it. But, I mean, those maps are going to be just all over the place to some extent. I mean, we have the likes of Bocage Hardpoint, Bocage, I mean, once again, then Berlin, Desert Siege, and Tuscan. So we're seeing some different map differentials this time around compared to last week because we didn't see any Desert Siege at all necessarily. But instead, actually, no, we go ahead and have that as a ban, excuse me. So instead, we're going to have Gavutu, Bocage, Tuscan, Bocage again, and Tuscan again. So instead of the bans coming through, which I just listed, instead we're going to be seeing these map picks and just the same thing what we're seeing out of last week. A lot of Gavutu, a lot of Bocage, a lot of Tuscan. I mean, you can obviously tell both these teams and both these players, I mean, everybody across the board when it comes to CCL is just really feeling a lot more home at these maps.
Yeah, especially with Bocage being such a popular map and a lot of players from pro to here, and especially in the challenger scene, this is their bread and butter. As much as people like to, talk about the, it's always about, getting down and dirty in the fisticuffs of the jail yard, of Bocage. It's going to be one of those maps that we definitely look back on as one of our favorites.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, everything they got to preside, but I mean, speaking of the first map, we're already getting a cinematic. So when it comes around here on Gavutu Hardpoint, obviously, there's a lot of rotations. There's a lot of action constantly going on. There's a lot of lineups. There's a lot of close contested areas to be dealing with as well. I mean, for both sides of the field and what they need to go ahead and win out to really get themselves ahead. I mean, Concordia, I can go ahead and speak on their keys to victory. I mean, just play smarter, not harder. I mean, we mentioned that last week. Time in, time out, really harbored on that point, and that's what got them that dub against the likes of Purdue. But a big problem for them is they relied on the likes of Siri a little bit too much, if you ask me. And quite honestly, I mean, for a map like Gavutu, he definitely has the potential to go ahead and slay out. You can have so many lineups. You have so many massive lines of sight to be dealing with, especially if you get on that top boat tower. There's so much presence that can be held there. But for the likes of all, the other side of the field, when it comes around to these Redbirds, I'm not sure exactly too much what they're going to have to do, but I'm sure you have a little bit more to discuss with that.
Yeah, I think definitely that these players on the side of Redbird are going to have to keep up their rotations on their hard points because they won last week 2 out of their 3 hard points. They first won 250 to 79, then immediately 250 to 133, but then they lost in a very close, heartbreaking map of Bocage of just 250 to 243. It was such a close game, and at that point, it was anybody's. But so I think they're definitely going to have to really bolster their S&D as well. But let's get into it right now as we hop into Gavutu HP.
We already have ourselves getting here onto this hard point 1 right off the get-go, getting right into the fray. We're already going to have Concordia and Redbird fighting it out, most obviously, but Concordia already coming out on top, fighting some really good slays here on the edge. Some 1-for-1s, but able to still hold down that time. A great little start for the likes of them, but they just got to go ahead and set things up a little bit more because, I mean, 30 seconds left on the clock. Obviously, we're here in these beginning stages, but not too much stress on the likes of them just yet. You have a lot of contention, a lot of time just to really hold out, and it looks like everybody's just kind of eyeing there in the middle of the map, looking to find a breach wherever possible.
Yeah, and you're going to see immediately right here, that was a nice little 3-stack towards the middle steps from the side of Concordia. They were just waiting for a bit of a pick to try and move in. They got it, and they were able to, make the waves onto the site. Now, you look at Redbird. They're going to be rotating in towards the back of the boat, but you done got me. He's ready to go. That's a nice little 4 down. Concordia, they're the ones leading in terms of slaying and in terms of the hill right now because you look at Redbird. Redbird's going to really need to pick it up.
They most definitely are to go ahead and get themselves back into this game because right here on P2, this is one of those contested sites I mentioned earlier. You go ahead and find yourself a lot of presence. You find those big obstrued areas where you really just don't have too much to play with. You don't have too many lines of sight. You can't really have too much to work with. But, I mean, if we're talking about working, Siri right there at the top, that tower I mentioned, this man was watching the VODs. He sat there and said, you know what, Mick, that is a great spot for me to go. Get up on top of the map, get intel of everywhere that's going on, and then go ahead and get that either A, the intel over, or go ahead and get the picks myself as we do find him falling very shortly afterwards. But it's not going to matter too much because Redbird's still going to be on that side. They're going to find themselves working with the lead now, but it's not enough to really make a huge differential just yet.
Exactly. Right now, 32 to 44. We've got 4 minutes and 23 seconds. We head onto this hill towards the beach and make sure you pack your sand sand flip-flops and everything, my friends, because it's going to get real messy right now. You're going to see right here immediately, Flob holds this top position, going to try and maybe get one of these players off of the angles, because really, it's just lane influence right now. So Flob immediately gets one, almost gets the second one. Leo Bear is going to be able to check himself out early with a bit of a fall there. Shout out Clayster. And there you go. You have 36 seconds right now. Plenty of time to try and contest it, but it looks as though you're going to be holding it if you're Caterator.
You most definitely are. I mean, Caterator, a massive slayer we mentioned from the likes of last week on that SMG. And I mean, that's the one player you want inside right there on that boat. You want to go ahead and get him close quarters. You want to go ahead and find the trades, find as much as you can to boost with a great little follow-up there because, I mean, you got to go ahead and have the stationary. Calm and steady, slow and steady is really what it comes down to. And you saw the patience. You saw the lingering players waiting for a break, waiting for those trades to finally come out on top. And we can already see this paying off a little bit for the likes of Redbird. But they got to go ahead and set up for this P4 now because this is a massive money hill. And every single time when a break really comes around, it all comes down to who gets there first, who can hold it out, because we could see all 60 seconds being taken here.
Oh yeah, this is a dangerous position where, especially if you're in the back spawn, you can just immediately get corralled. Lambs to the slaughter right here. But you see right there, immediately Caterator gets taken out, 61 to 49, and it looks as though Concordia, Wisconsin, they're going to really need to hold this one because, my gosh, you look at the side of Redbird, you've got some great KDs across the board. Saint, though, a little bit lagging behind, but clearly doing impact in terms of OBJ. Leo Bears, nice little shots over toward the front, a bit more than he can chew. Now, Flob tries to pick up for this fallen teammate, and he does get Siri. Gets the second one. That's going to be a huge one right there. Now, players spooning towards the next hill. It looks as though we're going to be having a bit of a parallel battle. 3 players in the boat, but it looks as though Flob, unfortunately, the trigger a little bit too cold for his hands.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal because you're still finding a lot of time there, still on P4. There's only 2 seconds left, so you picked up the majority of the time there. I feel like that's somewhat a pretty good money hill to be working with. Sure, you found a break here and there, and I mean, if you're going to go ahead and win that outright, you're most likely going to win most sites and just be completely dominant right now. But as the score does even up a little bit more, Concordia is going to be back there on the reset. Be ready for that next spawn there towards P5. They're going to go ahead and start grabbing the earlier sections of that time, and that's going to be a really good setup for them because it's only a 30-point disparity right now. Not too massive, and it can still definitely be caught up in one map, but it all comes down to whether or not Redbird has the answer. And it seems like they do unless Caterator has something to say about it because with the stationing come around, you see the spawns that are coming out as well, and Concordia kind of being switched up. We're seeing Redbird probably able to go ahead and find that lead as they already set themselves at 100, looking pretty good to also grab the rest of this 20, whether or not they're just ready to move across the map through the middle and fight Concordia there through that middle lane.
And you also do want to know right there, Leo does have a glide bomb. That's going to be essential to help breaking this next hill into back towards gun because there's just a lot of positions where you can immediately just get overturned and flipped with the use of that glide bomb if used effectively. So right now, we hop in with Flop, who's going to be looking towards this left, immediately picks off one, looks for the second. No players taking the bait just yet. Hanging out in the kiddie pools right now of the beach, and he does notice that there might be one player coming off spawn, and that's going to be Siri, but Siri holding that middle position to the T, and now he moves it to the side, gets one, and unfortunately, much like everyone else, we get stuck to the reload. He loses his life. 34 seconds. 126.86 right now. A bit of a differential in terms of points right now. A little bit under 50, but hey, you have plenty of time to try and rotate and maybe get a full 60 off this next one. What do you think?
You most definitely do. It all comes down to whether or not you're ready for it. And honestly, I think Redbird most definitely could be because Saint going ahead taking a note out of old series playbook saying, I'm going to get up in that tower as well, get as much intel to play with as possible. Finding a frag and opening up the map a little bit, it all comes down to these trades, and we see it just really going left to right, left to right. I mean, not really too much answers, not too much double downs, not too many unanswered kills, as Caterator finds a great double there on top of the boat, able to go ahead and hold down things a little bit longer as the rest of his team is there for the rotations. But, I mean, the spawn's not looking all that hot right now, but it may not matter all that much as we can see Concordia absolutely slaying out here on the second side.
Yeah, exactly. And right now you have Concordia having a 3-man pull towards this ball, towards the boat. And it looks as though Saint's going to be getting one. Immediately, Caterator picks off Saint. That's a nice trade-off for the lives lost. But you need your players to try and get in there really fast if you're Concordia because all these players towards the side of Redbird have already besieged this hill, taken it over. And Siri, well, he's the icing on the cake right now, making sure that his boys have a nice little hold. But it's just not looking too hot right now. He's going to need to try and maybe get in there with some impact. But as I say that, he jumps out, boost, takes his life away. 148 to 115 right now, and we're getting real close.
Yeah, and Siri being the AR player in that scenario, I mean, going ahead and rushing it alone, knowing the rest of your teammates are just kind of gone, that's not too much to be playing with. You're kind of looking pretty concerning there to go ahead and make a solo move like that. He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, I could gas this guy up all day. He's not really going to be able to pull out 4v1s super often like that, especially with the setup. But if we're talking about setups, we already see, Siri trying to get on that site, and you done got me, also falling as well as they were holding on to that P3, but with the explosions coming out, the glide bomb coming out of perfect timing there for a wide open site, this could be a break for Concordia. They just got to go ahead and pick off Saint, which they will find first. You see Boost up there towards the top, and Leo as well, but Concordia slaying out, making sure that this game is going to get as close as it can get.
Yeah, it's really coming down to the wire right now. 165 to 134. This is a great stat line if you are Concordia, Wisconsin. But right now, Cruzy, nice little kill towards the beach. Gets one, looks for the second player. He knows he's there, immediately snaps on. That's some great intuition out of our AR from the side of Wisconsin. He's looking around, but immediately Saint picks off the low HP AR. 151 to 65 as we hop into this next hill. Siri, though, activating his strafing run, and you've got to think to yourself right now, strafing run inbound, that's going to close off at least one lane of access. You're going to have to try and just utilize these other lanes, and that's exactly what's happening. Concordia just getting pushed off of rotation and getting absolutely slayed out by Leo.
Oh, and Leo right there. I mean, the man you're mentioning, the man of the hour when it comes around to this money hill. I mean, we saw Concordia with a pretty solid comeback attempt, really coming into fruition, really coming into light. But, I mean, as it stands right now, we see Redbird just stepping up.
Sheesh.
We saw the strafing run come through. Not too much of an impact there from the likes of Siri because, I mean, there's just so much cover there. That's exactly why this is the money hill. There's so much cover to deal with. You can see Leo doubling down now, still being on a 4 streak, one off from that glide bomb. Just looking to double down, find every single frag, and also cut off the spawns a little bit towards this P5. Looking for a flank, going ahead and setting up for that long game, saying, well, we have 7 seconds left. Concordia is not going to worry about touching that site. We're going to see all my teammates approaching there from the front, coming from both sides, just trying to push out of that spawn. But if I go ahead and reset this, make our job that much easier, and you go ahead and work with the assistant blob, they can find themselves a massive break and go ahead and close it out here.
Exactly, and with it being 224 to 157, I would hope they wouldn't want to chow old like that. But right now, you look at Caterator, he's going to be trying to hold that the top gun right there. Leo holding down in his bottom cabinet position. Nobody able to contest him just yet. This is the play from our Slayer, Leo. He's going to need to try and get something big here. Maybe stop this push, and looks as though he's on the flank and gets that player. That's going to help them off. Now 226, but Siri, nice little Superman kill right there.
Even then, I mean, sure, we see Concordia able to go ahead and step it up, hold down P5 a little bit longer, but still, Redbird has the spawns. They have much better spawns. You see them already pushing on the site, holding things out well. They're not going to be within the threshold to end the game just yet, but I mean, they're definitely going to get that much closer, knowing there's some scrap time. P1's going to be that reset, and they're definitely going to be fighting it out there, because this is what we saw a lot of back and forth there in those earlier stages, where one side's going to get the other, and it's just trades and trades and trades. But I mean, as it looks right now, Redbird, with them winning most of those kills, and we saw on site, is Cruzy all by his lonesome. That may be a big problem, because the glide bomb's coming in. That's going to go ahead and have somewhat of a stopping effect with all the damage to come down. Flaw also on site with the likes of Boost just slaying out. You still have a player playing Ring Around the Rosie. That's going to be the likes of Cruzy just trying to hold things out. But with 5 seconds left, I think this is going to be Redbird taking it home from F1.
Yeah, most definitely Redbird. They set themselves up. I just want to say, really, from that point where you saw that, you know, the strafing run come in, you had those players get off of their rotation. It was a one-track mindset there. When you had the strafing run come in, it was just immediately like derailing a mono train. It was just devastating. There was no way that they could have recovered from that. You immediately saw Leo taking advantage of the chaos. And that's why they won that one in a very dominant fashion. While there was a bit of a hill disparity, you know, you could have said maybe 1 or 2 hills, they could have came it back, you know, brought it back. But overall, Redbird, their presence was just much more felt to me. I don't know. What do you think, Mick?
I'm most definitely with you. I mean, Redbird, they were a little bit more on top. You saw Leo really stepping up there, able to go ahead and get a lot of kills. Be that absolute frag master, man. Unlike the Concordia, we just didn't see the rotations be on poor. We didn't see them go ahead and have the establishment when it came around to those sites, getting those rotations, getting those spawns. And I think the stats can speak for themselves when we see that. We see a lot of kills out of both these teams, out of obviously the sides where I expected for the most part, but just so much more non-traded kills from likes of Leo. I mean, look at that. 23 alone. You go 31 and 22. I mean, to have that strafing run in the game and have 2 kills per hill. I mean, that is a lot of defense to be playing with, and that's something that you really just can't fight. You got to shut the man down if you're going to be playing this mode a little bit more.
Yeah, and I believe the highest streak we saw Leo at was a 5 streak. So definitely, it was something to note there where he was just making sure that he was getting those 4 down and then immediately picked off another. And that's just essential for a teammate to be in terms of being a slayer, an impact slayer at that. Because, you also had Saint who was going 14 to 21, but his plays were, a little bit more notorious, a little bit more in the shadows, helping out the team in terms of Hill. He went a minute 34. That's huge. At the end of the day, you can slay out as much as you want, but if you're not getting that Hill time, you're not winning.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. I mean, obviously looking at Cruzy not really having the best day when it comes around to that first map. But I mean, overall, just look at Leo Bears and Saint and the way they go ahead and allocate that time, as you mentioned. I mean, just 58 seconds, having your biggest slayer be an SMG player. Sometimes that really speaks levels when it comes around to hardpoint because, I mean, you're on the site. You're not only pushing a site and getting those kills. You're on the site getting those kills, and you're favored in those gunfights compared to the likes of an assault rifle player. As we see Adam Siri from the likes of Concordia, doesn't really want to get on site too much, wants to stay back and help his teammates. But if his teammates aren't winning those fights by their own, they're not going to be able to get to the site, period. And that's where you get to see that lack of time, which we really see the volume spoken for in that first map.
Exactly, and that just gets me so excited for this next map, which is going to be Bocage S&D. If we have a player like Leo who's just out here flying around like he's God's dang United Airlines, I'm excited to see how he's going to do in such a close-quarter map like that.
Yeah, I'm most definitely with you. I mean, I feel like Berlin would have definitely favored the likes of Concordia. I mean, as we go ahead and mention their assault rifles over and over again, because, I mean, I had the pleasure of casting those guys last week on that Purdue matchup, and I can't get it out of my head too much. But, I mean, speaking about this week, looking at this map and what it has to preside, as you said, it is going to be a lot of close quarters. Unless you move to that B site, you go ahead and get in that swamp area, you get right there in Shrek territory, that's where you can see these assault rifles go off. Problem is, we've seen so many A hits when it comes around to this map. Time in, time out, these players, these teams love going for A because the bomb site is so contested. It's so small. You're right there in a corner room. You're not really dealt with. You can go ahead and plant the bomb in peace. Problem is with B, a lot of teams don't want to go ahead and get that preemptive setup. Say, let's go ahead, play it slow and steady, move to the back, make sure he has that cover there because a frag grenade could still fly out of literally nowhere, and the next thing you know, you're getting that bomb held hostage.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those maps where your subs are really going to need to be your vital factor here. ARs, like you said earlier, you play towards that P2 tank, and you try to get that lane of access. But with A being the primary focus, you're really going to have to focus on using your subs to defer the aggression, get in there, trade off of each other, and then the ARs come in, plant the bomb, and do a great post-plant setup.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, even then, A is also, as you mentioned, that post-plant setup. It's a lot easier to do there as well. I mean, because B, we saw a lot of ninja diffuses on that B site last week, and I think that's another reason teams are really kind of scared to go for it, because if you're going to go ahead and find yourself a close quarter setup, a post-plant setup that is, you're obviously going to be in those corners. I mean, it's a little bit too much of a given. It's too easy of a corner check. You find yourself a quick kill, you go ahead and get the roundabout. But even then, we already see somewhat of some momentum as Concordia's going to be starting on this attacking side, looking like they're already maybe moving for some influence on this B site, but the rest of the team is going to be moving to A as it's a 3-1 split.
Yeah, but you see right here, you got that one player, number 7. That's going to be Boost, who's going to be making the route right now, going through the spawn. But you look at Siri right now, Vulcan hand, bit of a different pick from our MP40s that we've usually seen. But, hey, none to worry because right now, you look towards the back, Caterator. He's got a bit of a pick there. He gets one, Siri picks up another, and that's going to be huge, and Boost gets taken out as well. Work averted.
I mean, right there, just massive frags off the get-go. You have 3, Leo being the last man standing, and finding 1 kill, that's great. You go ahead, you start something to be working with, and if anybody's going to be alive to be a threat, it's going to be Leo. But instead, it's going to go ahead and be quickly shut down for the likes of Concordia for them to go ahead and find their first run onto the board. A great start for the likes of them. We just got to see where they can double down on this defense, because we can see back and forth all day on this offense, but it all comes down who we can really get that advantage to be playing with.
Yeah, and you looked at the terms of player positioning. You had Boost all the way towards the back, and it looked like he was setting himself up for a possible flank off rotation. But immediately he was just averted. His work was just pretty much put as a minuscule point of effort.
Yeah, most definitely. And all comes down to whether Redbird can go ahead and answer here. You already see somewhat of an A push once again coming through because the Leo Bears not only going to be that Slayer, but being the objective player, the bomb carrier as well. So, I mean, you are sitting there putting all your eggs in one basket, and it comes down to whether he stays alive, which we're already seeing Flob, Saint falling as well. So those are going to be two players off the board. Concordia still standing on top, making this job look a lot easier for him, but they still got to take care of that massive fragger that is Leo, who's going to be sitting right through the middle of the map, lingering around, playing slow and steady, hoping that one of these Wisconsin players get a little bit overzealous, and he does find the pick for one, making this look a lot more doable.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for Redbird than they thought, because right now, you see right now, Concordia, Wisconsin are just absolutely just making it look like it's child's play. And you see right there, Leo Bears gets you Dungami, but Caterator picks him off. Nice little trade-off, but Boost, nice play. His flanks are now being made to work by Caterator. Whoa! Actually wins that one. Redbird putting themselves on the board. That did not look like he was going to win that.
It most definitely didn't. Honestly, I mean, once we saw that 4v2, I was thinking that, I mean, Wisconsin had this held down, at least for this round, if that's what we're speaking about. But overall, Redbird just turning this around saying, look, we're not out of this just yet. We still had the bomb. Sure, as I said earlier, they put a lot of eggs in one basket, but they still allocated some responsibility to the rest of the team, and we could definitely see that step up. So as it sits right now, I mean, Boost and iFlob, I mean, just not a dynamic duo by any means, but Boost and Leo Bears, definitely something to be on the lookout for, because as it looks right now, this is just looking like a 2v2 as we got a lot of donuts on the scoreboard.
Yeah, there are quite a bit of donuts. It's looking like Krispy Kreme up here. I'm about to grab a nice cold brew while I'm at it. But hey, let's see right there, because Leo Bears, nice little two-piece off camera. Gets something big right there. Cruzy trying to get him, but Leo Bears is flying. Boost, though, picks up the kill, and there you go. That's the fourth down. Nice picks from Leo Bears there.
Insane aggression for the likes of Redbird. I mean, a completely different pace than what we saw that first round. Not playing it slow and steady. I mean, I think it was to go ahead and it was the start of that S&D, and they want to give a little bit too much respect, especially at that hard point, saying, I mean, we want it, but we don't want to throw it away by any means. Going ahead, getting a read, seeing where their setups may be, getting a feel for where Concordia is going to make their first move, and we already see that flying out. Able to go ahead and find themselves a lot of momentum on the board, get that first double-sided double down. I mean, where they sit there and get themselves offense and defense. I mean, sure, the offense was somewhat of a clutch, but we're going to go ahead and just breeze by that as we still have ourselves some action going down, and it all comes down to the first blood here with the stun, picking up some hits there towards that A side.
Yeah, you do see right now Boost playing a little bit more of a passive role than what we've seen him on the flank. Right now, with AR in hand, looking around for any of these players. Leo, though, he's on the move right now. Flob and him going to be working as a duo here to break down this A site towards B. But it looks as though that there's no opposition, as it looks as though Wisconsin's going to get shot from the back by Leo. But Caterator picks off that kill. That's a nice little trade-off.
It's an amazing trade. I mean, especially considering the angles that they were at. I mean, that's a really unlikely kill there for Caterator, but you still go ahead and find it. You just got to be ready for the flank out of Flob to go ahead and be up there in those stairs. You now know where the bomb's down at. You went ahead, got the kills. It's now looking like a 2v2. Bombs down, so Concordia has to make a move, not only to get onto a site, but they got to grab that objective first to even give the momentum for them, or that leeway, that leverage, that blackmail, and they only got 27 seconds to do it.
Yeah, you do see right now Boost making a lot of noise. There's definitely going to be a bit of a note here, but looks as though Boost's going to get shot anyways, and Cruzy wins that one. Saint, though, bit of a feint attack right there. Cruzy tries to run away with his life, but it looks like there's 10 seconds left. At this point, you play the time. You don't let this player try to get the bomb, and there's just not going to be any time at all to plant. So, Cruzy, he's really going to be the one to win off of this right here with no time left.
Yeah, great play there from Concordia. Just go ahead and play it slow and steady. You know the time's there. Just don't die. Keep some eyes out. Keep your ears sharp and make sure you can go ahead and know if an objective's going down by any chance. But once you go ahead and get that bomb down, you have the advantage. You find yourself on the site knowing you're just going to hold out those angles. A great start for him to go ahead and get those trades. I think it all started there with Caterator on those great shots. Even then, doubling down, saying 5 and 4. That's a great stat line to be looking at. You can also see the rest of these guys stepping up. No more donuts on the board. Everybody's getting their fair share of the action so far to go ahead and get a kill, but you just got to make sure to get a little bit more if you're going to find yourself this lead, as Concordia and Redbird are tying it up. But Redbird's won a defense, and so is Concordia now. So things are looking a lot more difficult, especially when Cruzy finds that first blood.
Yeah, nice first blood right there from Cruzy. But it looks as though Leo was the one who got dealt that, unfortunate. And so that's going to be their Slayer out of the map. Saint picking off Cruzy now. Nice trade-off right there. But a minute left. We don't want to run out towards a bomb time out here. We want to make sure we get this bomb down. But you're going to see right now, you done got me. Looking around, goes for this tank position. But it's Flob who's going to be able to notice that. But he's been found. Crisis alert right now. He's looking around for these players. And shots are going to be coming in. And he's going to be able to stay away just for now.
And even then, I mean, he's not making a play off of this. He's giving no intel from his teammates right now. He can't make a play. Instead, he's just sitting on the side as his teammates are falling left and right around him, making his job that much harder. You done got me, though. He's playing this just outstanding right now. Just baiting out the play, saying, look, we're going to play it slow and steady here, get ourselves the momentum wherever we can. But you see so many trades coming out, even for Redbird to bring it out on top. Some great plays in there on the edge from the likes of Flob to go ahead and close out that round 3 for the likes of Redbird.
Sheesh, Redbird just having that great positioning. Caterator, unfortunately, left to his pistol, not able to get the offensive kill. But hey, you know, you look at it right now, 3-2. It's been going a bit of a back and forth, but so far, Redbird, they've been singing the tune of their beat right now. And I'm excited to see if they can keep it coming here, because right now, we're going to hop in with Boost. Maybe he's going to try and go for one of his flanks, or maybe he'll stick to his passive plays that he's been doing that so far have been working with this AR.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to where they're really moving this bomb, because once again, they can't get overzealous. We saw the reason Concordia won that last fight, or that last round where they were on defense. They went ahead, they grabbed the first blood, just like Caterator does this time around, but it wasn't the bomb carrier. Actually, excuse me, yes, it was. I was saying that, hoping to be a little bit of a different story, but instead, you see Leo Bears already being dead. That's a Slayer once again. You get a trade for 2, but the bomb is still down once again. It comes down right there to Satan to win out that fight. Now making it a 1v2 against the likes of Caterator against the world, with Boost and Flob being at the head of the opposition.
Yeah, but you look right now, Boost and Flob are on the hunt. They've picked up the bomb, but they're just like a bunch of wild dogs in the hunt. They smell the fear. Caterator, though, going to be able to respond in kind with a nice nade. Not going to be able to tag up anybody just yet, but you've got this position now where there might be 2 collisions here pretty soon, but he's not going to be able to look. Flop's going to be able to move on to the back. Oh, he actually gets in front of him.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. I mean, I respect the slow play out of there. Caterator, amazing read. Go ahead, play it slow. You still got 20 seconds left on the board. You're now sitting at about 13 because you need 7 for that defuse. But that's the problem there. Boost is going to go ahead, be in those kind of tunnel area, and make sure to get a check every here and there. And you know he's coming, but you got to get this down the next 3 seconds. And at the perfect timing, we're going to see Boost hop out, grab the shot to go ahead and get that 4th round to be working with for the likes of Redbird.
That was beautiful. Not only, you know, in this situation, I probably would have waited until maybe at the 7-second mark to hop out, but no, immediately once he heard that bomb pick up, it was go time. The lights were green, and he just flew out there and got that kill. So very nice. But now we're sitting at a 2-4, and it's Rambo Ray who says it best, my friend. You'll hear me say this a lot on the cast. This is the swing ground in terms of the map. Whenever it's a 2-4, usually the person who wins this round is most likely the winner. So we'll have to see.
We most definitely will, because we've definitely seen some crazy games so far, but it all comes down to whether or not we're going to see any different plays. And even then, Siri bringing something new out alone. Grabbing that MP40 instead of the automaton, able to get a little bit aggressive, but a little bit too aggressive. As you see Flob already grabbing a double kill, making their job that much easier. But Cruzy moving to the back, just running it right into another player. The crossfire to come out. You done got me, giving his position away, trying to get that trade, but now it's still a 1v3, and Leo Bears is alive and well in this round. But it doesn't matter, because Boost already finds it and gets his team to that match point threshold.
2-5, winner of the swing round. That's going to be Redbird. So, yeah, they're at a very nice standing right here. Through the last 3 rounds have gone indefinitely to them. They've been showing how their timing has been absolutely impeccable, and now they're at the match point. So I think that it's safe to say Redbird are currently in a much more calmer, relaxer demeanor. But you look on the side of Wisconsin right now, you have an 8-7. That's Caterator. He's been holding the main, impact of this team on his back right now.
Yeah, he most definitely has been. Caterator's been stepping up just insanely in this round. But As to go ahead and mention his name, he's going to be the first one to fall in this round, as the nade's actually going to come out from Saint and find the kill there, but the trade does come through, so everything's warranted to some extent. But I mean, as Boost falls, that's going to make this a 3v2 against the likes of Concordia. So with them defending, going ahead and having to hold out a bomb site, it all comes down to where they can get the read, and you can already see it being planted on that B site. A lot of problems and a lot of rotations are going to have to come through, especially for the likes of Siri. Once again, that massive Slayer still holding out on his own with that MP40, but he's going to have to do a heck of a lot more now being in a 1v3.
Yeah, 1v3 against all odds, but Flob, oh my goodness, you got to hit your shots there, my friend. Redbird COD win that one 6-2 in a very dominant fashion with 4 rounds at the end going straight to them.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, man. I mean, Siri, I mean, he's usually the top frag, but we're seeing a completely different lineup this time around. I mean, we sat there, mentioned Donut Watch there during round 2, and as you could have gotten a little glimpse there, I mean, not too much differential from the side of Concordia. Going ahead, stepping it up, playing a little bit more so, getting a little more aggressive, overzealous when they see that the rest of their team isn't really there. I mean, it was all Caterator, it was all Siri, and then the other 2 teammates were like, all right, well, we're just trying to at least live for a little bit. I mean, this is a big problem. Meanwhile, Redbird saying, all right, we got to step things up, guys. 2 of y'all aren't fragging out at all. Now, I'll even play back. Leo sat there and died 2 rounds in a row. First frag there to go ahead and die out in the game, saying, all right, if I'm not alive, y'all got to do something, and that's exactly what was brought to the table. Yeah.
And you really have to, you know, tip it to the side of Redbird. You had Boost, who immediately recognized the lack of, affirmation when it came to his playmaking. You saw immediately at the beginning, he went for the flank at first round. It did not work out in his favor. Now, this is really where it defines good players from great players. It's defining and recognizing where your faults are and adjusting mid-game. That's exactly what we saw from him. He immediately flipped it around, ended off with a 7-4 stat line and a very dominant showing from Redbird.
Yeah, just a lot of flaws here for the likes of Concordia. I mean, I can't really sugarcoat it, honestly. As much as I would like to, I mean, as much as I've liked this team and really had a lot of hopes for them, I mean, they're definitely not done and dusted just yet because they went ahead and went through with the reverse sweep last week. But, I mean, things looking really difficult here if you done got me and Crazy don't step it up. I mean, already only finding 2 kills, both respectively in this game, and barely doing the damage to warrant that alone. I mean, Cruzy with 149, you just can't ignore stat lines like that when you're trying to go ahead and get yourself back into the series.
Yeah, and you look at the side of Redbird right now. Each one of those players between the numbers of 2 to 3 were the first bloods. That really shows how each of these players was a proactive member in attaining that round up. Not only was it one player, you relegated towards that player, but it was each and every one of them was active on it. They were proactive in making sure that they had the map securement and exact measurements when it came to their influence. So very much tip it to them. They deserved that one in a 6-2. It really showed.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, we saw the lead there, Caterator, having the most slays as well. But, I mean, on top of that, the big stat line I was looking at was, funny enough, we saw 2 rounds brought from the likes of Concordia, Wisconsin. Guess how many first bloods old Caterator had? I think the numbers are starting to line up a little bit because he also had 5 first deaths. So that's kind of funny how whenever you go ahead and get him out of the game, it looks like a round's going to swing to the side of Redbird for that one. So, I mean, as we go ahead and start looking at a hard point coming up here soon after a break, I mean, we got to go ahead and consider what exactly they're going to have to do to really get themselves back in this game.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see after we see in this intermission.
Yeah, so with all that being said, we're going to find ourselves throwing it to a short little break. We'll be right back here with map number 3, 4, and 5, possibly, if we get lucky enough to see it. But before then, we're going to give these teams a short little break and ours as well. And you as the viewers as we find ourselves. Also, possibly looking at some alpha action in the meantime. So we'll catch you here in a bit.
Back, ladies and gentlemen of the CCL community. I'm your host, OG Susano, joined by my co-caster here, my man, Mick. It has been a great night so far with you, my man. The night's just getting started. So currently we're at a 2-0 lead for Redbird Call of Duty against Concordia, Wisconsin. My man, Mick, how you feeling tonight, man?
I'm feeling good, Chief. I'm feeling even better knowing that we're seeing some series fold out finally in front of us. You can only hype it up so much until you finally get yourself in the game, and we've definitely seen some action. We're already looking at everything being panned out, finding ourselves going to another hard point here soon, and as we can already hear being tapped into our ear, these players are already ready to get into it. We sat there and mentioned a short break, but they wanted an even shorter break than what we wanted. We wanted to get a sip of water. They wanted to go ahead and find themselves just some time to load up that next lobby, but speaking of the map, speaking of the lineup that we have coming through, we have another hard point coming up. Obviously, we have all control being integrated next week. So we know the rotations are coming through. We know all those integrations are coming out, but we are finding ourselves going into a hard point once again. And even then, to go ahead and speak about that hard point, let's go ahead and look at the maps, see what we're dealing with. Because, I mean, this series could go longer than expected. We could go to a map 4, a map 5 maybe. But the one thing we are guaranteed, as it seems right now, is going to be that hard point on the likes of Tuscan. So a great lineup, a great little map to be dealing with, and especially seeing Concordia slay out on it last week. I'm hoping we can see him finally wake up.
Yeah, I'm hoping Concordia can wake up indeed, because they are, in terms of a much better hardpoint team. But, you know, with a 250 to 167 Gavitu, it was definitely a bit of a lying statement from our end. But hey, who's to say maybe Tuscan's their bread and butter? Because right now we're gonna be hopping into a Tuscan hardpoint. Then immediately right after, because remember, right now we are still implementing the 3 hard points in our map pool. We'll be going into a Bocage hardpoint. Then to end off, if we do get there in Game 5, search and destroy onto Tuscan. So if you like Bocage and you like Tuscan, well, these are the next couple of maps for you.
They most definitely are. I mean, especially with those 2 maps. And we've already seen what it looks like on Bocage. We've already seen the likes of it on Search and Destroy. Obviously, a much different pacing. But when it comes around to the hard point, I mean, we saw the aggression. We saw the level of frags left and right. And we saw most of those going over to the side of Redbird. So that's going to be a real big concern going into that hard point, making sure that you're going to not only just be slayed out off the get-go, you're going to have to make yourself a huge break, stay on a site as well, and make sure to hold it. And especially when we saw the spawn setups from the likes of Concordia on that old Gavutu, I just wasn't too impressed. I didn't think they were woke up today. I mean, sure, it's a Monday. It's going to be a slow little start of the week for yourself, but you got to find a little bit more pressure. You got to find yourself winning a little bit more gunfights. You got to go ahead and have a little bit more influence on those spawns. I mean, a little bit more of everything. And I mean, sure, one small little problem, not that big a deal, but when you have so many of them adding up, it really just sits there and costs you a major lineup for the game. And we could see that in the point differential on that first map. I mean, it was like a 100-point differential. Sure, we saw, you know, Concordia getting 160 points, but I don't think that's going to be enough when the threshold is 250 to close out a game.
Yeah, with 250 to 167, it definitely was a bit of a tough differential to try and go up against. But we really saw that first map, the use of streaks and their effectiveness with that strafe front. So I think really, if we can get some more streaks onto this map, we'll really see maybe if Wisconsin can try and, you know, bring it back. But then you also think about with the players, with their slaying capabilities. And so far, I know you were talking a little bit about it before, but you know, Leo, he's currently the man right now. He's the man of the hour.
Yeah, he most definitely is. I mean, Leo being that main fragger, being that SMG player, being on site constantly as well. I mean, able to win those fights. I mean, that's going to be huge. One thing that I'm counting on, hopefully, out of the likes of Concordia to go ahead and get back into this game is going to be that old P4 we see on this map, right there towards that edge house, right there towards that where you would usually find the other bomb site when it comes around to all search and destroy. But I mean, that's all going to have to be ifs, ands, or buts. It all comes down to whether or not we actually see some action, see some kills coming out from the likes of them, and whether or not they're going to win out these fights. And even then, you can already see them pinning out in the middle of the map, able to go ahead and find those first frags, and site is already going to be contested.
Exactly. You look right now, Boost holding this top church position. This is an ever so essential hold. But Cruzy immediately able to tell him off right now. You done got me. Getting a bit of some tags into him. Nobody going to be able to take him off. But Cruzy picking up that player right now. Leo now trying to hold on to the side like you were saying earlier. This man always in a spot of influence. And immediately, Siri going to be able to stop him. Looking as though Redbird still have a bit of a lead so far in terms of points. But this P1 clearly went over to the side of Redbird. But right now, let's get this rotation going as we head towards P2.
Yeah, going ahead and clearing out through players, opening up that side a lot, giving them the rear end of this time to go ahead and find some, you know, a little bit more points on the board. Able to tie things up and get themselves back into this game. But, I mean, we can't have a race like this all day. We can't have you staying relevant, catching up back and forth, back and forth. we're probably going to see some kind of a skew coming eventually. Once these spawns really start to go ahead, get scattered about the map, we see different points coming about. We still see a lot of trades coming out, but even then, Redbird still looking like they're on top, able to hold down the beginning points of this time, and that gives them a lot more just breathing room to go ahead and set up for spawns, allocate themselves across the map, figure out another game plan, and really set themselves up for rotation and some frags, as you already see Boost up there in the top of that scaffold.
Exactly, a game plan indeed. Right now, Boost holding that top position is going to be helping him out, but Saint, he's on the flank right now. He did get one player, so the information apparently not given, as you see right here, goes on the flank, gets one player immediately, sees the second one. He's cracked out of his mind right now, goes for the third! Oh my gosh, he's on a 5 spree. Make that a 6. He's going insane, full streaks in hand. And there you go, Redbird immediately winning this second hard point overall.
It's kind of ironic when the man's name is Saint, but he's playing like an absolute demon right now, just slaying out, being that top fragger on the team, able to clear things out. But it's not going to matter too long because we got P3 coming up, and Concordia is already set up for it. You can already see they have themselves a lot of players around the map, looking out that window, able to get that kill, clear off Flob a little bit, who does have himself a pretty good game as well. But this is where the glide bombs come into effect. You know, you get that intel, you figure out what these players are, you slay out if you're Leo Bears, and you make this side a lot more easy, especially with the old crews to come out as well. Lots of kill streaks being invested right now.
Exactly, calling in holy prayers from below to above. There you go, Caterator. Getting some big kills right there, but Saint picks up another one. Siri, you done got me. Siri as well. Picking up more kills than can count. 17 seconds left in terms of this hill. You've got to get this rotation on, but it looks as though the players from Redbird have a nice little perimeter in towards that mid. One player hanging it back towards the church. That's going to be Flob, but none other than the side of Wisconsin. They're going to be moving in through P2 towards this new. If they can get this flank onto the set, they'll definitely be able to get some good time.
Yeah, right here, this church side, this one is so influential because it sets you up for the entirety of the map. You can find yourself some easy spawns, get to the back, really reset it. When we saw Redbird initially spawn, you can hold that down pretty easily. You just get an AR in the back, get your SMGs on site, you go ahead and make the map put into your control. So long as you can just hold it out. There you go. If you got Satan doing the work right now, grabbing another 3K, this makes your life a little bit too easy if you're on the Redbird squad.
That was beautiful to see. Saint going absolutely crazy in the church, really making everybody know he is the Pope, and these are his services. But you got 20 seconds left right now in terms of this hill. Unfortunately, though, for the side of Redbird, they are down by a 20-point differential. Not too much to worry about, but a bit of some sweat indeed. So you've got Caterator right now holding this new, but it's going to be immediately a bit of a thwarting of the plans because Boost gets taken out, trap sprung. Now Flob immediately responds in kind.
You know, I think the trade-off I'm seeing here, I mean, Saint really being that player, feeling a lot more at home here on this map, but a big problem is they are Leo Bears, the one who we've been mentioning time in, time out the entirety of this series, not really being there, being that player who is winning out gunfights and getting a lot of sight time as well. And Saint is now finally picking up on that, saying, look, you know what, if I'm killing everybody, I probably need to be putting that to use. Actually getting on the scoreboard, actually tying up this game to some extent. As you see a massive push coming in right now from every single Concordia player.
Oh, but Leo went on the offensive right there, immediately helped out the team, and that's a nice 4 down. They're going to be able to flip the lead into their favor. 22 seconds left onto this hill. You get the rotation going now, but you have 2 players holding down that mid. Saint, it's no problem to him. Leo making some way towards the mid as well now. Sees that there's a bit of a gap in the influence, sees it, feels it now, and immediately goes for the child with Saint in hand. Siri gets taken down, absolutely decimated. And there you go. We're on to the second set of rotations. So far, Redbird in the winning slot.
Oh, and a massive turnaround for him. I mean, that's what I was mentioning earlier right there on P5. I mean, Saint just not having too much objective time, seeing that, okay, my teammates, they're not really slaying out right now. And even then, they're not getting time whenever they do get those kills. We're now manipulating this. So if I'm going to frag out, I better go ahead and get some score on the board for it. And you already see that coming to the fruition, saying, look, if I find myself on the site, win out these gunfights, really set up the rest of my team for some open air to really give themselves some time to breathe. But even then, Concordia, they had themselves a lead for such a long time, but it got choked away from them immediately on that P5. So much time going to the side of Redbird. You can see that turnaround coming right now where they're having to compensate, have to get every single second. But when you see these kill streaks coming out, that makes it a little bit harder for the likes of Concordia.
Some players are just losing their shots right now. The trigger finger's not exactly coming into play too much, but Redbird, great play right there to be able to stop that aggression from the side of Wisconsin. They had a great start, but immediately lost it a bit in the middle into the interference, but were able to hold it overall. Now 115 to 154. We hop onto this P2, but Caterator, he's running the intermission right now, going to try and hold off these players from any sort of aggression, but it looks like he's going to get shot from the back, and now Redbird in charge of the New Hill as well.
Damn near 80-point turnaround, man. I mean, we saw Concordia
Crazy.
leading by about 40 points,
Crazy.
and now Redbird is doing that same exact thing. I mean, the turnaround is massive, and that's a big problem for like Concordia because, I mean, we saw the potential out of them. We saw them doing some great kills. Everybody's pitching in. Everybody's doing their part. That is besides the likes of Cruzy. But we're just going to go ahead and mention everybody else, hope that he catches up a little bit here soon. But as it stands right now, I mean, Redbird finally stepping up, saying, look, we need time conversion. We got to get on the site. We got to go ahead and set up. We're doing great in the kill department. We're doing great in the spawn department. But why are we sitting on the site with all this time we have? And Concordia finally manipulating that, saying they're going to grab some seconds as well, and still sitting in that 40-point deficit. So they really got to cash in here. They got to go ahead and get set up for P3, and this is a really rough one to hold out.
Indeed it is, because right now you look at it right here. You've got Boost in the back, Saint holding the middle fountain, and it's going to be a big of a fight right here as 3 players are coming in. He gets 1. Fortunately, the second, a little bit too much to chew, but Leo coming into the flank, gets that one. That's a nice 4 down. Redbird immediately going to be able to break that 200-point threshold. Leo, Graveyard Master. He's the Undertaker. He's laying them low.
Oh, my God.
And he goes for the 4th.
Oh, no. I mean, what we said earlier, Leo's got to wake up. I mean, I think this man found the smelling salts. He got a little bit too hefty into him because he's up and out now. He's saying, Saint, you've got a little bit too much spotlight this game so far, buddy. It's fine. It's about time I step up. Able to go positive now as well. Plenty of time on the clock. Even then, I mean, the point allocation across the board, damn near every single player for Redbird holding at about a minute of time on this site. So that means they're all playing together. They're playing collaboratively. Sure, they're going ahead and getting fragged out here and there, but, I mean, they're in the lead. That's what it comes down to. Whoever can grab these points, and Redbird almost about to close out this series with this game alone, but Site 4, here we go. This is the one that could be a money heal, so long as Concordia just sets up for it, and Caterator can clutch this out.
Yeah, Caterator's going to really need to go huge right here. He did get that nice kill into Boost, but you look at the storms of stats. Boost is 6 and 15 right now, so that really wasn't too much of an impact kill. But Leo immediately gets that big kill. Siri, oh my gosh, getting put onto skates. Boost now coming in for some kills of his own. 20 seconds till the dub for the side of Redbird. Boost going to play towards the hill, holding it down while his teammates go absolutely insane into the spawns. And there you go. That's another 4 down. 10 seconds left. Leo running absolutely insane here. 244 to 148. Nobody's able to even touch the hill. And that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Redbird 3-0 victory over Concordia, Wisconsin.
And with such a massive lead there on the likes of Tuscan, dude. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not a Concordia fan by any means, but I mean, just seeing how and I'm sure Chess probably roasts me right now of like, this mid guy sounds like he really loves him. Well, look at how they performed last week. This was not the same team I saw last week. I mean, I was super impressed by their performance right here on Hardpoint. I felt like it was a little lackluster. We saw Cruzy not really committing nearly as much. Redbird turning things around. We saw, like I said earlier, an 80-point turnaround where Redbird was in a 40-point deficit, turned it into a 40-point lead. You can't let that happen, period. I mean, looking at this scoreboard, that is not something that any team should let happen or even come to fruition, even let's see the light of day here on Hardpoint.
There's just simply no words to describe it, and you really put it well. You can't let it happen. You just can't. And that's just such a lead, detriment to the mental, to the overall game, and that's why they lost 148 to 250. You also got to highlight, you know, you had Saint and Leos from the side of Redbird going absolutely crazy. Saint, he was rocking the first 3 parts of this game, and then the last to end it off, the icing on the cake, the creme de la creme. We saw Leo turn up, went crazy, didn't even let anybody from Wisconsin touch the hill at all. But then you look at Boost and Flop. Boost, you know, he went 8 and 15, but a minute and 10 on to the hill. That's pretty typical right there. While you did not, you know, have too much in the slaying capacity because you had 2 juggernauts right there and then. But you also had Flop, who also had a minute 17, but also went 25 and 16. Overall, great performances out of all these guys, and overall, just a great showing in general.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these stats from Redbird, stepping it up. I mean, just absolutely astronomical stats from across the board. And I want to mention the two players, Saint and Leo, both 22 non-traded kills. Like, are you serious? Another player we saw right there, Flop, 17. I mean, literally those three players alone all had more non-traded kills than the top player from the side of Concordia. That in itself, I mean, as you said, I mean, we didn't really see too much when it came around. I mean, Saint obviously going off, but I mean, speaking to the entire roster, the bottom frag there, 8 and 17, you're still getting those assists. As you said, a minute on the clock. Able to go ahead, play things out, sit on that time, just be there for assists, man. Just play around, dance on the side. I mean, we mentioned it in Vanguard time in and time out. Players are extremely fast. I mean, the pace of the game, the way the players move, I mean, just the movement speed in general is set extremely high. You can make it to where you can be a little bit slippery. Just play around a site, run in circles if you got to, and then just go ahead and pop a shot every here and there. See if you can find yourself some time. But I mean, overall, we just saw a lot more setup, a lot more time, a lot more investment into the objective for the likes of Redbird to go ahead and pull out. But we want to go ahead, take a bigger look at the entirety of the series, see the entire map setup, what we had, what we just saw, and what we could have seen, but didn't exactly come out to the light of day. As we sit there and see these score lines, man, it was almost a repeat of history on these R points.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. You saw immediately from the beginning, Gava 2 HP, 250 to 167 in the Redbird. Went absolutely crazy on that map too. But then you go to the S&D, 6-2, which is such a difficult stat line to try and, you know, wrap your head around if you're a COD player. Then you immediately go over to the next hard point in Tuscan, 250 to 148. Much lesser scoring for the side of Concordia, Wisconsin. And it clearly showed. These players are already ramped up. They were ready to go. Leo was having the greatest time of his life. We were all here taking a ticket to Leo United because we were just flying along with him.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, right off the get-go, I was expecting a map 5. I was really praying for it. I was hyping up Concordia, knowing that Redbird had themselves that 2-0 momentum going into the season. A great little opening for them, especially not only in terms of today, but the entirety of CCL. Now having a 3-0 start as a brand new squad here inside of this league, this is a great introduction. A great way, a great first handshake. I mean, very strong, very firm, showing, yo, we ain't here to play. We're here to win. And you could definitely tell from their attitude today that they are here for it.
Yeah, it most definitely. They have the swagger and the attitude for it. And clearly, they are the ones who showed up today, wanted it more, and got the dub. So very much hats off, tipping it to the side of Redbird COD. You guys did really well today, and I'm excited to see who we've got next up here later on tonight. Who do you think is going up there, Mick? You got anything about that?
Well, I alluded to it earlier, and we didn't see it in this matchup, but I mean, I just alluded to it because I know it's got to be somewhat of a rivalry, right? We got 2 South Dakota schools coming up, so I mean, come on, man. You really can't go anywhere if you're looking for some good old close school rivalries. Heck, I bet you somebody could throw a bottle over a fence and it hit another player's computer. That's how close they got to be in terms of these lineups. They may even be playing in the same facility for all we know. I mean, it's right down there close to each other, but that's going to be coming up here soon. Instead, as you alluded to, we're at the end of this series. We got to throw it to a short little break before we get to this next setup to go ahead and make sure we get all these players together and get ready for this next series. But in the meantime, we do have some more old action going on in the Alpha stream, which is going to be at twitch.tv/collegecod, because you're watching the Bravo right now, where you're going to have 2 other beautiful casters awaiting you in the meantime. But don't go anywhere. We'll probably have the coverage here. So just don't go anywhere. That's really what it comes down to. Stick around for some more College COD action, and we'll be right here after this short break.